Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for August 20th, 2021, around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot to talk about today, including strengthening Hurricane Grace and what could be a direct hurricane landfall on Long Island or somewhere in Connecticut and Rhode Island from Tropical Storm Henri. So let's go ahead and jump straight into everything. Taking a wide look across the tropical Atlantic this afternoon, we are still monitoring our two storms out there. We have Hurricane Grace, which is now quickly strengthening over the Bay of Campeche with only about another 12 hours before landfall. And then we have Tropical Storm Henri over here, which has remained again a tropical storm for the last several days under the presence of some very strong northerly shear. This is now starting to let up, and signs are that Henri will begin to intensify as it moves northward sometime today or tomorrow, and direct impacts to portions of the northeastern United States and New England seem fairly likely over the next several days. So first of all, starting from west to east, a quick brief look at Grace. Sustained winds have increased to 95 miles per hour, and this is likely to become a Category 2 hurricane sometime tonight. And again, this only really has another 12 or so hours over land or over water, and then this could make a run for major hurricane status if this, in fact, gets better organized. Again, we don't have another recon plane in there, I believe, until this evening, or we may not even have another recon plane. But I think there is one last one scheduled for this evening, right before landfall. This will quickly move inland and dissipate over Mexico, but could the remnants of Grace could redevelop as a tropical cyclone in the eastern Pacific Basin over the next few days as this moves over water in the eastern Pacific. So that will be something to watch. That should also get steered out to sea there. Now, a quick look here at the satellite image. Again, today the storm has been developing some deep convective bursts. You can see these convective structures that develop on the southern side, and they've been rotating around today. And that's one of the things that has really helped to really strengthen the storm. The latest pass from Recon that was in there from earlier suggested a minimum central pressure of about 979 millibars, and a storm that is rapidly now starting to deepen as these deep convective bursts rotate around. There may be a little bit of dry air intrusion on kind of the northern side of this, and again, you can kind of see some of these Milky Way cirrus clouds over here. There is still some of that dry air entrainment possibility. The center of circulation right now is roughly somewhere within this vicinity over here, so this doesn't have a lot of time before moving over land. So again, this is still undergoing rapid intensification, but we shouldn't see too much in the way of additional intensification, but maybe getting up to major hurricane status. But certainly this will become a Category 2 hurricane and move inland tonight. So now, kind of jumping out to the broad picture here, looking at Tropical Storm Henri. Again, this is the one that poses the greatest United States concern impact right now. We can see that we have a storm to the south here, really, of south and west here of Bermuda, which is right over here. And this will be moving northward during the day today and into tomorrow, creating, again, some powerful, some powerful winds with this. This will likely become a hurricane, and again, sustained winds are expected to increase to right about 85 miles per hour. Now, the forecast becomes rather complicated as we look down the road with this. Again, we notice that the storm is going to be slowing down on approach to New England. Typically, you have hurricanes, any hurricane landfalls that occur, typically you get storms that are moving at 20, 25 knots compared to 5 or 10 knots like this will be moving inland over this region. Now, the one good news is that this would cause some weakening, which we'll talk about in a moment, but this will also cause some very heavy rainfall. Now, if we look here at what's going on currently with the visible satellite, we notice that, again, we have a semi-displaced low-level circulation. Again, it is inferred that the circulation is on the northern edge of this convective burst here, but there is also some signs that we have rotating convection to the south of here. And what this suggests is that we could be seeing a chance or a probability that we get a downshear formation. Basically, the storm, because we have some northerly shear, and in this case, the downshear direction is going to be south, we could get a new low-level circulation that reforms under this mid-level circulation. If it does so, we could see potential rapid intensification of this. Again, shear will be expected to decrease today. Now, the recon plane that was in there from this morning, again, don't mind this, but the recon plane that was in there from this morning did find pressures of about 1,000 millibars, and we have an inferred motion that was kind of off to the southwest at this point. Now, again, the recon plane did find some pretty strong winds on the southeastern side, and there is some hints that there could be something down here that is attempting to cause all of this strong wind. Again, you have some pretty strong wind over here, and I guess it could be inferred, or reasonably inferred, that there is something down here trying to create this bit of stronger wind. Now, if we look at a microwave imagery pass from earlier this morning, we can actually tell that, again, the low-level circulation was here, and again, we notice that there's banding on the southern side of this, and it could be inferred, again, that there could be an attempt at a center reformation down shear underneath this mid-level circulation. If this indeed does so, again, we could see a storm that rapidly intensifies as it's on its journey northward. And we kind of look at this on a different kind of plot here. This is the HWRF 200 millibar wind pattern. This is the 12Z run valid for 2 p.m. this afternoon. Again, what we can tell is that we've had some northerly shear over top of the storm during the day yesterday and today. If we kind of back this up a couple of frames here, this was 2 o'clock yesterday. We noticed that we had some pretty strong northerly shear on the order of about 25 to 30 knots. And this was really breaking our storm. It wasn't able to maintain itself very well. Now, we can go forward here. And again, the low-level circulation is pretty weak right now, but it is still there. Now, we will have this upper-level low here aiding in diffluent flow aloft, and it also creates this outflow channel. And instead of the northerly shear that we've had over the last several days, this trough here coming out of the Ohio Valley is going to now induce a southeasterly flow and a northerly flow aloft, which means that, again, as the storm is now moving northward, again, it's going to be moving in tandem with whatever was over here. So this ends up kind of aiding in a very diffluent flow, and it is actually stuck in between two different outflow channels because this developing cutoff flow over the Ohio Valley and this area here that was shearing the storm is aiding in that diffluent flow. And we can see a storm that is able to rapidly intensify or modestly intensify into what would likely be a hurricane here on Sunday morning. Now, the steering flow here, we can jump up to the 500 millibar pattern. This is at 18,400 feet in the atmosphere. What we'll notice is that, again, this is by 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon, so tomorrow afternoon, we have this cutoff low here that is moving to the southeast, and as low-pressure systems attract each other, basically, these will begin to pinwheel around, but we also have a developing ridge to the north, which is also sliding towards the east. Now, this ridge will likely induce a little bit of northwesterly flow here, which could bend our storm back towards the west here. And we see this in the HWRF forecast where the storm begins to slow down because, again, this low here and this ridge over here is kind of creating a very weak steering pattern in between here. This very weak steering flow is what's slowing the storm down on approach. And we can jump back here to the track forecast again. This is hour 48 and this is hour 72, and this doesn't really move much. Now, we can go to the sea surface temperature forecast here from the HWRF, and we can tell that, again, this is the Gulf Stream that runs something like that. And as Henri begins to move into the northern edge of this Gulf Stream and into the cooler waters, it should subsequently weaken. And if we have a storm that is beginning to slow down during this time, this will weaken pretty rapidly over the cooler sea surface temperatures over towards Long Island, etc. And in fact, the HWRF shows a landfall right around 991 millibars and weakening pretty rapidly. And again, you can go back here. This is about 8 o'clock this is 8 o'clock Sunday, 991. We jump back to 8 a.m. Monday morning, And in just about 12 hours, the storm has weakened to about 1,005 millibars, which means the wind field is going to be rapidly decreasing. The wind potential will be rapidly decreasing, but there will likely be some pretty strong winds down there at the coast. And we can look at the GFS forecast for this. Again, what we notice here is, again, on the 12Z GFS here, you had a pretty strong storm overall. And this, expands, over tropical storm force wind field expands just about 125 nautical miles. But we notice that, again, this is now about 978 millibars, 8 a.m. Sunday. So, again, we're looking at a time of landfall somewhere between early Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. Now, there's still a wide range of possibilities. Again, we could still see a storm that ends up kind of pivoting into New York City and potentially even New Jersey, or we could see a storm that kind of comes up much like the GFS is showing and then bend back there closer to Vermont, or a potential track that is just a little bit grazing here off the coast there near Nantucket. Now, the western solution, these two solutions here are becoming a lot more likely today, and we've seen this grazing of the coast become less likely. And on the GFS, again, this moves in as what would be a strong tropical storm or hurricane at this point and rapidly weakens it. And again, this is just south of Vermont by about 2 a.m. Monday morning, and the wind field has gradually decreased. Now, the one thing that we will have to look for, again, is all this rain that's going to be on the western side. We notice that, again, there's a lot of moisture here in this dark green band that will be setting up, and this will likely cause a very significant amount of rainfall. The wind field will also be pretty large because the wind field is going to be expanding as the storm gets north here and starts to collapse on itself. The wind field will begin to expand, and there will be chances here that even on this forecast track that New York City could end up with some tropical storm force winds, especially in bands that wrap around. So we'll have to watch this very carefully. Again, currently the 12Z European ensembles agree with this, that, again, a landfall cluster seems likely now somewhere from anywhere from about Jersey to Long Island and potentially even the Connecticut and Rhode Island border right here. Again, this is looking less likely today that this will move harmlessly out to sea, and a lot more likely today that we will be dealing with some fairly significant impacts in the Northeast and New England over the next several days. So again, have your hurricane preparedness plans ready. Again, this will be here within the next about 48 hours or so. Again, this is still expected to be a hurricane. There will still be impacts even as a strong tropical storm through here. So again, keep that in mind and have your hurricane preparedness plans ready. Unfortunately, we are not going to be intercepting it, but we do have other people out there that will be intercepting these storms, and we'll just kind of wait for the next one. So again, stay safe out there and have your hurricane preparedness plans ready. And if you're told to evacuate, please evacuate and follow the advice from your local weather service office and government officials. All right. With that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. Of course, I am Michael O'Malley. I'll talk to you guys again some more tomorrow.